This class we're learning how to make a glove. So this is my customer's home. So the first thing you're going to do, if someone says they should make a glove, make sure you get the fingers of the person. So the person should place their hand on a paper and then trace out the person's finger. For my customer, she only did her finger. Then after, she requested that it has to belong down to her elbow. That was why I have to put her wrist measurement, and I'll end up putting other measurements. So this one, I'm just using my hair to work it down. But this is her hand measurements. If you are making glove, make sure the person puts their hand on a pattern for you to trace out. If you're making for yourself, put your hand on a paper and trace out your fingers. Everybody's fingers are different. My own finger is smaller than what is here. I put my hand in the beginning, you saw it, so I cannot use mine to make for somebody else. So make sure they put their hand and you trace it out. Once you trace it out, the next thing is to cut it. And you can see the way I cut it. At the down, I used her wrist measurement and put there. So the length of this glove is 20. So now on my fabric, I'm going to put it, and I pinned it. I'm using a very stretchy fabric. I always advise a very stretchy fabric so it laps very well on the on your hand. So this is 20. Then I added extra 1 inch for my hemming allowance, and this is just it. The next thing I'm doing is to get my midpoint. Remember, she did not put her hand straight, so I just have to get the midpoint. So I know that that's where she wants it to stop. That round is basically 12. So I'm doing 12 divided by 2, which is 6, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So now I'm going to put 3 on one side with half an inch for joining allowance, and 3 on the other side with half an inch. So by the time I measure everything, it's roughly 6, 7. So, but if your customer is there and wants something long, let them put their hand, draw it to where they want it to be at. So you see the way I place my hand. If your customer is there, make sure you draw it that way. On her wrist measurement, I'm also adding half an inch. Her wrist is 8, so I put 4 there, and I added half inch for joining allowance. Remember, if your customer is the office for yourself, place your hand and just draw your hand down to your fingernails. So the next thing is I'm adding little allowance because I'm going to join them together. So I'm just going to add very, very little. It's a stretchy fabric, so you don't really necessarily need much allowance. So I'm just adding very little allowance to the sides, and I am going to cut out on the allowance I did. So you can see I have cut it all through, and you can see the allowance. So I'm just going to remove the paper, and this is how it is. Now I'm going to sew on it. If you're like me, that your machine needs servicing and you're going to have an issue sewing on a lycra or a stretchy fabric, I think you have to service your machine. Or I did not record how I was able to sew it. You can use paper method, it works here. Most times when you sew on stretchy fabric, mostly if your machine is not serviced well, the thread will keep cutting. So try to figure that out. I skipped how I made it work. I'll also upload it in this class also. So by the time you've joined them together, you see I cut for 2 sleeves. After joining it, that's how it looks like. So you're just going to flip it to the front. And when you flip it to the front, this is what it looks like. You can see I've joined, and you flip the 2 gloves to the front, and this is what you have, looking very neat. Making a glove is really very easy. So I went to give it a good press, and this is the end result. Making a glove is actually very easy. So now remember I told you before I'll show you how to sew it if your thread is cutting. I'll show you a very fast trick you can use if your thread keeps cutting and you don't want to use paper or anything. You just need something fast. So this is a very simple trick I learned. So you get a masking tape. I would advise the black one or the red one, not the white. I've not tried the white before, but I've used black and red and it works. So the masking tape, just cut, carry your footer up, put the masking tape just the way I'm placing it directly under your footer. Once you place it, you will create a slide. Use your razor blade or a scissors, create a slide at the center so that your thread can pass through. Then sew on it. You will notice when you do this, you will sew easily. Remember I said you can use a razor blade or a scissors. At the center part, just create a little space so that your thread can pass. Once you do this, you just sew. You see that you can sew easily on a stretchy fabric and you're not going to have any issue. This works only on stretchy fabric, so just try this and you see that you will sew comfortably and your thread will not cut. But if you sew without it, you will notice your thread keeps cutting, except you just service your machine newly, then it's not going to cut. But if you've been sewing at the long run and you've not serviced it, you notice your thread keep cutting. So you can try this out and see if it works for you and just let me know. It's very easy to make a glove. So see you in next class. Thank you.